Happy holidays, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this special Korea Society holiday program. My name is General Lieutenant Skip Sharp, and I'm on the board of directors for the Korea Society. I think it is safe to say that it's been a tough year for all of us, but the holiday season is all about coming together to count our blessings. That is one reason we are very pleased to bring you this heartwarming story. I'm confident that it will fill you with as much inspiration and admiration as it does for me. On Christmas Eve 1950, Rear Admiral J. Robert Looney helped carry out an evacuation mission that rescued over 90,000 civilians. It started as a military retreat, but became something much more, a rousing testament to the goodness of human spirit. In just a few minutes, we will be lucky enough to hear from Admiral Looney himself in this short documentary. As the son of a Korean War veteran and myself having served in Korea, this story conveys special meaning for me. I last served as the commander of United Nations Command, ROK U.S. Combined Forces Command, and U.S. Forces Korea from 2008 to 2011. It was an honor and the best and most rewarding assignment of my career. This story stirs within me feelings of gratitude for veterans who served in Korea before my time. All those who put themselves in mortal danger for the sake of the ROK U.S. Alliance and to protect the cherished principles that it stands for: freedom, democracy, human rights, and shared values. Before we get to the video, I want to talk a little bit about some of the programs the Korea Society has conducted this past year to mark the 70th anniversary of the Korean War. First was a tribute to those who served and sacrificed, featuring remarks by Ambassador Kathy Stevens, General Vince Brooks, Korea Society President Tom Byrne, and Korea Society Senior Director Stephen Knopper. On July 27th, the Society conducted an Armistice Day salute with an historic video and live remarks from Korean Consul General to New York Ambassador Won-Sung Chang, Korean War Veterans Area Commander Sal Scarlato, and Korean War veteran and retired U.S. Congressman Charles Rangel. In addition to these marquee programs, the Society held two programs that focused on personal reflections about the war and service. In one such program, the Korean War Veterans Advocate Hana Y. Kim joined Policy Director Jonathan Corrado for a conversation on our global journey to meet Korean War veterans. In the next discussion, Marine veteran Sal Scarlato shared reflections on his years of service in the Korean War in a conversation with Senior Director Stephen Knopper. To find all of these programs and to browse a digital gallery of Korean War veteran items, please check out our special webpage, The Korean War at 70. I want to thank you for joining us today, and I hope that you'll continue to engage with us in the new year. We here at the Korea Society want to wish you a very happy and healthy holiday season. And now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to present a short film produced by Korea Society's Peter Stumke and Jonathan Corrado, with the kind support of Stephen Knopper and Tom Byrne, a film starring Rear Admiral J. Robert Looney. So please enjoy The Last Ship in the Harbor. Thank you.
They ordered us to proceed as rapidly as possible. The Chinese were closing rapidly around the port of Heungnam. The Chinese had not only encircled that port, but they had advanced so far south, there were no land routes to escape from Heungnam at that time. Keep in mind that they had set up perimeters surrounding the port, and as the Chinese were advancing, the perimeters were folding one into the other. The Army representatives that came out to our ship, we were one of the last ships in the harbor at that time, came out to tell us that the Chinese were probably between 4,000 and 5,000 yards from the port, and we were in the inner harbor at that time, and they asked the captain, because of the vast number of refugees crowding the beach at that time, but they were coming in by the thousands. Think of this. These are North Korean refugees leaving all of their towns, homes, and villages in North Korea, where they had lived under communism for 5 years, seeking freedom, sacrifice everything from towns and villages where their families had lived for hundreds of years. It was freezing cold winter. Most of the young men were already in the military. These were thousands of mostly women and children and elderly men huddled on the beach, and they were still coming into Heungnam, seeking access to the ships. General MacArthur, Douglas MacArthur in Tokyo, had said, start taking on as many Korean refugees as possible. The army had set up strong points, several thousand yards surrounding the port. They had set up a command post on the beach in a cave. We had the full support of the 7th Fleet in the harbor. We had the firepower of the USS Missouri, 16-inch shells firing into all of the Chinese positions. This was all over our head. Our captain, Captain Leonard P. LaRue, had ordered that we take on as many as possible. We were a cargo ship. We commenced loading as many people into these cargo holds as possible, lowering them down with booms into the holds on pallets. The booms would lower them down as deep as they could. We had no heat, we had no electricity, we had no food, we had no water, we had no doctor, we had no interpreter. These Korean people came aboard. Women were feeding their babies. The older men had young children under their overcoats, trying to keep them warm. The weather was freezing weather. We filled each of the 5 holds, and then the captain ordered that we commence loading the last of the refugees on the beach. Keep in mind, we're the last ship taking out the refugees, and we placed them on the weather decks. That's the open decks on the ship. In the meanwhile, we had the ship positioned so that she was facing out to sea. We had the boilers running slowly underway, in a sense like a getaway car, ready to get underway in case the Chinese broke through the last perimeter. The 3rd Infantry was taking casualties. When you think about it, men were fighting and dying, enabling us to load the refugees. In any event, we did get out. The Missouri was anchored just near us, and I could see some of the men on the Missouri coming up and looking at this ship, our ship loaded with humanity. In every space, in every deck, every open deck, crowded in all of our holds, etc. And we were able to navigate out through the minefield and proceeded south along the east coast of Korea. We arrived there Christmas Day, December 25th. The Navy the next day, 26th, sent out 2 LSTs, landing ship tanks, and they were tied up next to us, one on either side. We were able to offload all of the Korean refugees into these LSTs that took them ashore. And I must note, some of you Koreans in the audience would appreciate this, that some of those Koreans did the traditional half bow in thanks when they left our ship. But we were able to offload and disembark 14,005 people alive at the island of Kojido.